was shouting at me, I was shouting back at him. It wasn't nice, it wasn't pleasant at all. And he snapped, and he pushed me to the floor. Having seen my family and the institution's part in constantly feeding the British press with lies, mistruths.
She's becoming a royal rock star.
And then
everything changed. There's a hierarchy of the family. You know, there's leaking, but there's also planting of stories.
Prince Harry thought he was being careful, but one slip-up changed everything. During what seemed like a routine conversation, he accidentally let something slip about his kids, something the royal family never wanted public.
The family and the tabloid press, those certain members have decided to get into bed with the devil, right?
The moment the words left his mouth, the damage was done. Whispers turned into headlines. And now, the world is scrambling to piece together the truth. So what exactly did he reveal? And why is Buckingham Palace in panic mode? This leak might just be the biggest royal shock in years.
There was a war against Meghan to suit other people's agendas.
It's about hatred. It's about race.
It's a dirty game.
The life of a royal in the spotlight. For as long as he can remember, Prince Harry has lived under the unrelenting gaze of the public. Every step he took, every word he uttered, and every choice he made was scrutinized, analyzed, and dissected by the press and the world at large. Born into one of the most famous families on the planet, Harry was the second son of King Charles III and the deeply adored, yet tragically lost, Princess Diana. His destiny was never to inherit the throne, but that did not mean he was granted the gift of a quiet life. Instead, he found himself in an unusual position, always within the royal fold, but never quite sure where he truly belonged. Unlike his older brother, Prince William, whose entire life was carefully shaped around his future as king, Harry was left to navigate a more uncertain path. Without a defined royal role, he had to figure out his own place in a world that had already decided what his brother's future would look like. Yet, in many ways, this uncertainty became both a burden and a freedom. While William was molded into a dutiful heir, Harry developed a personality that was both charismatic and unpredictable. His easygoing charm, quick wit, and ability to connect with people endeared him to the public. But he also became known as the royal family's most rebellious spirit, the wild child who refused to play by the rules. The media was obsessed with this side of him. They feasted on stories of his late-night parties, his youthful misadventures, and the scandalous images that occasionally surfaced. He was the prince who made headlines, not for state affairs, but for breaking royal protocol in ways both small and spectacular. Yet beneath the surface of his playful and carefree image lay a young man grappling with deeper struggles. Being the spare to the heir came with an emotional weight that few could understand. The world saw him as a prince, but he often felt like a man without a clear purpose, and beyond his royal status, there was an even greater pain: the deep, unshakable loss of his mother, whose tragic death had been played out in the public eye. For years, Harry tried to balance his royal duties with his own personal identity, but it wasn't until he met Meghan Markle that everything truly changed. Theirs was a love story straight out of a modern fairy tale, a British prince falling for a strong, independent American actress. Their romance captivated millions. They appeared to be the perfect match, effortlessly blending royalty and Hollywood glamour. But behind the dazzling public appearances and royal engagements, a storm was brewing. From the moment Meghan stepped into royal life, she was met with suspicion and relentless media scrutiny. The British tabloids, infamous for their ruthless coverage of the royal family, turned their attention to her with an intensity that few could have predicted. Rumors swirled, claims of palace feuds, tension within the family, and unfair treatment. Every gesture, every word, every outfit choice became fuel for sensational headlines. Instead of being welcomed, Meghan often found herself at the center of controversy, battling a narrative that was largely beyond her control. As the pressure mounted, Harry and Meghan faced an impossible choice. Staying meant enduring the harsh realities of royal life and media intrusion. Leaving meant stepping into the unknown. In 2020, they made a decision that would alter the course of royal history. They stepped back as senior members of the royal family. It was a move that shook the world. To some, their departure was a courageous act of self-liberation. To others, it was an act of betrayal. But no matter where one stood, it was clear that this was no ordinary royal exit. Breaking free from the confines of their titles and official duties, Harry and Meghan set out to carve a new path, one where they could define their own roles and control their own narrative. They sought a life of independence, far removed from the rigid expectations of the monarchy. But even outside the palace walls, the world remained fixated on them. Whether they were seen as trailblazers challenging outdated traditions or troublemakers stirring controversy, one fact remained undeniable. Prince Harry's story was far from over. His journey continues, and no matter what lies ahead, the world is still watching. Before digging deep into the scene where he divulged some information about his children, let's take a closer look into his adventurous childhood, seeing how he was raised in the royal family.
Well, Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are not working royals. They've made that repeatedly and screamingly clear to anyone who wants to hear it.
Meghan is in California right now, and you're here, and there's articles left and right about what is happening with these two. So is that a good thing for you in a way that there's so much interest in?
Prince Harry's childhood of privilege and adventure. From a young age, Prince Harry exhibited a blend of artistic creativity and athleticism, a combination his mother, Princess Diana, fondly acknowledged. He gravitated towards outdoor activities with a particular passion for horseback riding and hunting. The royal family's lifestyle was a unique mix of grandeur and tradition. While they resided in Kensington Palace during the weekdays, weekends were often spent at Highgrove House, their countryside retreat in Gloucestershire. It was here that Prince Harry, surrounded by sprawling landscapes, developed an adventurous spirit that would define much of his early years. Despite being born into royalty, Diana was determined to give her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, experiences beyond the walls of palaces and the constraints of royal protocol. She famously insisted on raising them with a sense of normalcy, ensuring that they interacted with the world beyond their privileged existence. To achieve this, she enrolled Harry at Mrs. Minor's nursery school in Notting Hill, a decision that reflected her desire for her children to blend in with their peers. But Diana's efforts went far beyond formal education. She frequently took her sons to places where most royal children would rarely be seen. From amusement parks to fast food restaurants, she introduced them to the simple joys of childhood, allowing them to experience life much like any other children their age. However, the intense public scrutiny that came with being a royal was unavoidable. Cameras flashed as young Prince Harry was dropped off for his first day of school in September 1987, capturing what should have been a private milestone for any child. But while the presence of photographers was overwhelming, it was just a glimpse into the public life he was destined to navigate. According to royal expert Ingrid Seward in her book William and Harry, the transition to school life was not entirely smooth for Harry. Like many children, he initially struggled to adapt. Yet, despite the growing tension in his parents' marriage and the relentless attention from the media, he remained a cheerful and playful child, known for his mischievous and fun-loving nature. As he grew older, Prince Harry developed a fascination with military life, an interest that would later shape his career choices. His education followed a structured path within the elite institutions favored by the royal family. In 1989, he enrolled at Weatherby School, where his older brother, Prince William, was already studying. The brothers were close, and Harry naturally followed in William's footsteps. In 1992, he transitioned to Ludgrove School, a prestigious boarding school in Berkshire, known for its academic excellence and strong emphasis on sports. Around this period, the stability of his family life was beginning to unravel. Though still a young boy, Harry was reportedly informed about his parents' impending separation, a difficult reality for any child to process. That December, the official announcement was made public. Prince Charles and Princess Diana were separating. The turbulence of their marriage had been widely speculated upon in the media, but now the once private pain of their failing relationship became official. 4 years later, in 1996, their divorce was finalized, marking the end of a royal union that had captivated the world. Through it all, Prince Harry's childhood was a unique blend of privilege and turbulence. He had access to the finest education, lived in the grandest of homes, and yet thanks to his mother's unwavering efforts, he also experienced a childhood that included simple, everyday joys. However, beneath the surface of his happy-go-lucky personality, he was also a young boy grappling with the complexities of growing up in the royal spotlight and witnessing the emotional struggles of his family. These formative years would shape the man he would eventually become, one who embraced adventure, duty, and, at times, defiance against the rigid expectations of royalty. Perhaps they also formed the bedrock of his approach to raising his children.
I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there. We've apparently divorced maybe 10, 12 times as well. So everyone's just like, what?
Parenthood beyond the palace walls. From the moment Prince Harry and Meghan Markle became parents, they were determined to rewrite the rulebook of royal upbringing. Unlike their cousins, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, who were growing up in the grand halls of palaces under the watchful eyes of the British public, Archie and Lilibet were given a childhood that felt worlds apart. Nestled in the quiet luxury of Montecito, California, their lives were shaped not by royal traditions, but by a deliberate effort to shield them from the relentless scrutiny that comes with being a Windsor. Privacy was the Sussexes' unshakable priority. Every choice they made reflected their desire to raise their children away from the rigid expectations of royal life. No grand christening at St. George's Chapel. No picturesque balcony appearances at Buckingham Palace. No carefully orchestrated royal introductions. Even something as seemingly simple as revealing the names of their children's godparents was off the table. Every glimpse the world got of Archie and Lilibet was intentional, carefully curated, and often controlled by their parents. Instead of growing up in front of flashing cameras and front-page headlines, the Sussex children were tucked away in a world of sunshine, space, and anonymity, a far cry from the gilded fishbowl of the British monarchy. Yet, for all the secrecy, curiosity about them only grew. The more they remained hidden, the more people wanted to know, who are these little royals? What would their future look like? The speculation reached a fever pitch in 2023 when King Charles III officially granted them the titles of Prince and Princess. It was a symbolic move, an undeniable recognition of their royal bloodline, even though their parents had stepped away from royal duties. But what did it really mean? Would Archie and Lilibet ever return to the world their parents had left behind? Would they one day embrace the responsibilities that came with their new titles? Or had their parents severed their ties to the monarchy for good? The questions lingered, unanswered, fueling endless debates among royal watchers and commentators. Before going further into Harry's disclosure, let's delve into the highs and lows Harry and Meghan experienced as they welcomed their children into this world, announced with their decision to step back from royal work.
Are you suggesting in some way that the king and his heir of his country should plan their schedules around what Meghan and Harry are doing on the Renegade Tour?
A royal journey, the highs and lows of Harry and Meghan. On May 6, 2019, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle welcomed their first child into the world, a baby boy named Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. His arrival was a moment of joy, not just for the couple, but for the world, as royal births have always drawn immense attention. At the time of his birth, Archie was 7th in line to the British throne, yet his parents were already charting a path different from the traditional royal script. Despite the initial excitement and warm reception from the media and the public, Harry and Meghan soon found themselves in an increasingly tense relationship with the press and even, reportedly, within the royal family. The couple's strong desire for privacy clashed with the British media's relentless scrutiny. What started as adoration from the press quickly turned into relentless criticism, with Meghan in particular facing harsh and often unfair coverage. Behind the palace walls, there were also whispers of growing tensions between Harry and his family, fueling speculation of deeper rifts within the monarchy. By January 2020, the couple made a groundbreaking announcement that sent shockwaves across the world. They intended to step back from their roles as senior members of the royal family. Their plan was not to completely sever ties, but to carve out a new, more independent life. They aimed to become financially self-sufficient and split their time between the United Kingdom and North America. This decision marked an unprecedented move in modern royal history, sparking debates about duty, tradition, and personal happiness. Negotiations with Buckingham Palace soon followed, and by March 31, 2020, a final agreement was reached. Harry and Meghan would no longer carry out royal duties, nor would they use their prestigious titles of His and Her Royal Highness. The transition meant that Harry, who had proudly served in the military, had to relinquish his honorary military titles and royal patronages, an especially painful sacrifice given his deep connection to the armed forces. As the months passed, it became clear that their departure was permanent. In 2021, the couple officially confirmed that they would not return as working members of the royal family, solidifying their new, independent path. By this time, they had settled into their new life in California, embracing their roles as philanthropists, entrepreneurs, and media figures. Amid these significant life changes, there was another reason for celebration. On June 4, 2021, Harry and Meghan welcomed their second child, a daughter named Lilibet Lily Diana Mountbatten Windsor. Her name was a heartfelt tribute to two of the most influential women in Harry's life, his late mother, Princess Diana, and his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, whose childhood nickname was Lilibet. Their journey from royal darlings to independent public figures has been anything but ordinary. Through triumphs, trials, and tough decisions, Harry and Meghan have remained steadfast in their quest to create a life on their own terms. One that balances family, freedom, and their ongoing commitment to making a difference in the world. And then, just when the world least expected it, Prince Harry may have dropped the biggest clue yet, one that could change everything. What did he say? Let's find out.
I'm not angry anymore. There are things that will still anger me, but I'm not angry anymore because I am exactly where I'm supposed to be.
The moment that changed everything. It was supposed to be one of those rare, intimate glimpses into Harry's life as a father, a moment of raw honesty where the carefully crafted public persona takes a backseat to something real. It didn't matter whether he was speaking on a podcast, sitting on a panel, or addressing an audience at a virtual conference. What mattered was that he was completely in his element. He spoke with passion, his voice carrying the weight of experience. Every word was deliberate, rich with emotion, as he painted a picture of what it meant to raise children in a world where privacy is a luxury. He was candid, yet composed, vulnerable, yet in control. Until, suddenly, he wasn't. Somewhere between discussing Archie's latest antics and Lilibet's growing curiosity, something slipped. A single sentence seemingly insignificant, casually uttered, escaped before he could stop it. Maybe it was an unconscious truth clawing its way to the surface, or perhaps it was just an unfortunate turn of phrase. Either way, it was out there now. For a moment, no one reacted. The interviewer, a seasoned professional, maintained a steady expression, nodding along as if nothing had happened. The cameras kept rolling. Harry kept talking. But then, just for a fraction of a second, something shifted. A pause, barely perceptible, a slight change in posture, a flicker of something in the interviewer's eyes. And just like that, the internet took over. Within minutes, social media was on fire. The clip spread at lightning speed, dissected and replayed with an intensity usually reserved for political scandals and courtroom confessions. Analysts, commentators, and self-proclaimed experts scrutinized every second of the footage. They examined his tone, his body language, the way his breath hitched ever so slightly. Then, there it was, the phrase that set the world ablaze. Well, it's not like we always have them around. Sometimes they're just not here when we need them. For a brief, almost imperceptible moment, everything froze. The interviewer faltered, only slightly, but enough. A trained professional who had mastered the art of composure, yet even they couldn't completely hide their reaction. A flicker of surprise, a subtle hesitation. It lasted no more than a heartbeat, but the damage was done. Harry shifted in his seat. He let out a small, nervous chuckle, an attempt to smooth over the moment, to move on. But it was too late. The wildfire had already begun. By the time the interview had even wrapped up, headlines were being written, news segments were being prepped, and Twitter threads were unraveling theories faster than anyone could keep up. Was it just a slip of the tongue? Or had Harry, in a moment of unguarded honesty, revealed something far more complex? Speculation ran wild. Where were the children? What did he really mean? Was this an innocent remark? Or had he unintentionally peeled back the curtain on a reality far different from the picture-perfect family life the world had been led to believe? The world was watching. And this time, there was no taking it back. Let's take a quick look at some of the speculations that spread wild after the disclosure.
I think the whole plan that Harry and Meghan have is a really problematic one because they're talking about stepping back. Their critics would argue, about having their cake and eat it.
The leaked secret. Rumors have a way of spreading faster than anyone can contain them, like a spark catching dry leaves, turning into an unstoppable blaze. And this time, it was Prince Harry who unknowingly lit the match. A few offhand comments, a simple conversation, and suddenly, the world was abuzz with speculation. What was he really saying? Some were convinced he was merely reflecting on the challenges of raising children while leading an international, high-profile life. A relatable struggle, one might think. But others weren't so sure. To them, his words hinted at something far more unsettling, something that had been whispered about for years but never directly addressed. Had he, without meaning to, exposed a secret that was never meant to see the light of day? For a long time, there had been murmurs surrounding the Sussex children. It wasn't just curiosity. It was a deep-seated suspicion that had never quite faded. Why were Archie and Lilibet seen so rarely? And when they did appear, why did their presence feel so carefully managed, almost as if every moment had been scripted? Then there were the details of their births, so guarded, so unlike the traditional royal approach. Even by the notoriously private standards of the Duke and Duchess, the secrecy was extreme. It was as if every trace of their children's early years had been meticulously controlled, leaving gaps too noticeable to ignore. And now, with just a few words, Prince Harry had reopened the floodgates. Could it be that everything the world believed about their family life was an illusion? A beautifully crafted, tightly controlled story meant to distract from a truth too strange to accept? Were Archie and Lilibet really living in the Sussex household, as the public was led to believe? Or was there another layer to this mystery, one so bizarre that no one had dared to say it out loud? The internet was soon ablaze with theories. Some insisted that this was nothing more than a case of overprotective parents shielding their children from the relentless glare of the media. A reasonable explanation. But others, more skeptical, felt that Harry had unintentionally lifted the curtain on something far deeper. His words had the feel of a slip-up, an unguarded moment that hinted at a secret too big to ignore. And then came the response from the palace. Quick, firm, dismissive. Yet instead of quelling the growing storm, it did the exact opposite. A royal insider rushed to assure the public that Harry's comments had been completely misinterpreted. But the reassurance fell flat. The words were vague, the tone oddly defensive. Rather than closing the case, it only added fuel to the fire. If there was nothing to hide, why did it sound like damage control? Why was there such urgency to correct the narrative? The world was left holding its breath. Was this just another case of the media twisting words into scandal? Or had the cracks in a carefully maintained illusion finally begun to show? Whatever had just happened, whatever had just been implied, one thing was certain. The conversation had shifted. A door had been opened, and the questions weren't going away anytime soon. What do you think about Prince Harry's situation as he accidentally leaked some secrets about his kids? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.